Welcome to the Baseball Brewhaha. It's your place for obscure baseball trivia. I'm Aaron. That's my twin brother, Adam. Join us today for a cup of coffee, and we're going to put our baseball knowledge to the test. So, Adam, what do we have in store today?
We have Hall of Famers getting RBIs. We've got a list of 4 players. Which one had the most career RBI?
Correct.
We have George Brett, Eddie Murray, Dave Winfield, or Mike Schmidt.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting one because RBI, I often will pay attention to like who's the league leaders on an annual basis, but I do not pay attention over the course of a career other than to say, hey, that guy had a lot of RBI in his career. So I thinking through this list, it's a bit of a wild card, but I went a little more power, and so I went through this list and I kind of ruled out George Brett a little bit early, but I went Eddie Murray, switch hitter, power hitter. That's where I'm going here. What say you?
Yeah, this is we got a good collection of players here. When I think about RBI and how I sort of work through the list here, it's not only about individual player attributes. Yeah, Eddie Murray was a power guy. Dave Winfield was a power guy.
Yeah.
George Brett got a lot of hits, so probably had a lot of opportunity to drive in runs. But really, what RBI is dependent on is the rest of the team, guys getting on base ahead of you. And so you have opportunities to drive in runs. So, I think about George Brett with the Royals. In the 80s, they had some good teams that made it deep in the playoffs. But for a lot of years, the Royals were not good.
Yeah.
Think about Mike Schmidt and the Phillies. They were not super great. They had some teams in the early 80s that were pretty good. And he dealt with some injuries. Dave Winfield played for the Padres at a time that they were not at their best.
And some bad Yankee teams in there as well.
Yeah. Twins, all of that. He did win a World Series toward the end of his career.
Yeah,
but he was slowing down at that point. So I'm left with Eddie Murray as well here because he was not only power hitter, got a lot of hits, but he played on some really good teams, Baltimore Oriole teams in the 70s and 80s, and Cleveland Indians even in the early 90s, a team that scored a boatload of runs. So I'm going Eddie Murray here as well.
Yeah, I remember you and I went to a game in the old Seattle Kingdom. We went with our dad. I think we were high school-ish, something like that. And the Indians were in town, and Eddie Murray was on 498 or 499 home runs, and it was like a big milestone. I remember we're sitting there before the game, and this fan next to us who was talking to his young son was like, if Eddie Murray hits a home run over here, you got to do whatever you can to get that ball. I'm like, so, all right, let's go. What's the reveal?
Big reveal. The correct answer is Eddie Murray with 1,917 career RBI. He also led the 1980s decade with almost 1,000 RBI alone in
that team. That's impressive. Adam, I gotta tell you, I'm feeling really good right now. I'm 3 in a row.
Savor it. The humbling days are ahead.
They are very much.
If you watch us much or you've been following along, you'll notice that there are some dry spells.
Yeah, we guess a lot. So, but so question. Do you remember any time where like RBI, particular year or anything like that for you growing up that was important?
Yes, from the fan perspective, I really only thought about RBI when it was in the news. A player's having a monster year, about to break a record, something like that. For me personally as a player, I don't remember anything about RBI other
Yeah,
than I had some hits in which players scored. So
inevitably.
I got a few RBI.
Yeah, I was thinking about this every time I think about RBI. You're going to hear us refer back to our growing up days and our high school baseball season. I remember my senior year, um, I had 42 RBI in a 20 game season. So very successful year. But then I remember I had a quarter of those RBIs in one double header. So we had this one team that we played against, St. John Endicott. They were newer to the league, hadn't had a team in a while, and they just weren't very good. Their pitching was not good. We traveled to their place. Um, no fence, mind you. Okay, this is a theme throughout our growing up baseball careers. We had very few fences. I went 8 for 10 in the doubleheader with 10 RBI. So
Big day.
big day, big day. So let's set the record straight though. We weren't facing elite pitching, no Greg Maddoxes, no Randy Johnsons. uh, but yeah, I remember that year, having a prolific year in the RBI department, largely on the back of one game, one
Yeah,
doubleheader.
but at the end of the season, no one knows any different.
Yeah,
They just think you
exactly.
dominated the entire year.
Yeah, just one doubleheader to boost my batting average and my RBI total.
That's right. That's all it takes sometimes.
Well, that's it for us today on the Baseball Brewhaha. Thanks for joining us. Put your comments in below. We want to hear from you. Join us back tomorrow. We'll be here. See you then.